Texas offense lethargic, my college football top 25, and Auburn. Latest on Bryson Washington, and obviously everything going on with the Tigers, and much, much more coming up today on the show. Y'all know what to do, man. It's the truth. What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to another episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and hype up the video, man. And appreciate you guys tapping in with me. Good evening. We got a lot to discuss today, man. A lot to discuss in the college football world, national news. We had a video earlier today on the channel. We talked about the SEC and Big Ten banding together, right, to basically say, hey, we're not allowing any NFL players, former NFL players, to play in our leagues. And I love it from a college perspective. But we talked about what was grim in the future with the NCAA and them potentially breaking away, because if they have to enforce these things, that is not a good look on the NCAA in terms of their power, their overbearing, or their oversight, and obviously everything that they want to do. So very interesting to say the least about what's going on there. But back to the matter at hand. Got a lot to discuss today, man. But y'all go check out that video. Obviously, it was earlier today that Tennessee, Aaron Carter getting his reduction or getting his suspension reduced. So we talked about all those good things. But now we're going to get into obviously my top 25 to begin the show. You guys have been asking about this. You guys have been like, nah, we want to see this. So this is my top 25. I really want to get you guys' thoughts. So please comment on this and let me know obviously what you think. I will reveal this right now. And this is Najee Wilkins college football top 25, man. Let's talk about it. All right, so we'll start at the bottom and then we'll go up. All right. So at number 25, I went California. I thought California did some great things in the portal, nabbing some players in, building this team and this roster around JKS, right, which is Jerron Kiwi Sakabatule. And I feel like they have one of the top portal classes that's not being talked about enough. And I feel like this could be a dangerous year for them, right? I feel like this is a year that California could surprise a lot of people. And when you look at their schedule, guys, like they don't have a whole bunch of teams, right? That really scares you, right? Like when we look at their schedule from top to bottom, like this is a team that can win a lot of football games to me in a wide open ACC outside of the Miami Hurricanes, right? Like who in this conference really scares you besides maybe the Miami Hurricanes? So I feel like for this team, as we put the schedule here just really quickly, I feel like it's very winnable, right? UCLA, they have not been good in years, right? We know they have slow starts to the season. Syracuse is not the same team. We'll see what Steve Angeli looks like this year under Frank Brown. Wagner, probably one of your tougher matchups, but they have to come to you all the way from South Carolina. It's Clemson. You have UNLV. VT will be obviously a tough game. Wake Forest at SMU will probably be the toughest game on the schedule for obviously JKS in California, but NC State, Virginia, Stanford, Pitt, all those are winnable games to me. So maybe you have one or two games that are tough. So this team could easily win between 9 and 10 games, right? So I feel like that is why I ranked them. I feel like this is a team that's being slept on a little bit. They had a really good portal class. They got receivers galore. This team, I think, is going to be pretty good this upcoming season. So that's why I ranked them at 25. 24 is Auburn. I feel like Auburn's a little bit underrated, right? I know some people was like, Naj, their coach said this. They weren't the most crisp when they had their first scrimmage. Look, man, this team is going to run the football, right? When you look at Mapson, Bryson Washington, Jeremiah Cobb, right? Byron Brown is going to be kind of just a stickler in there, and then Keyshawn Singleton and those boys, like they're gonna run the football, use play action, do their thing down the field. But I love that the identity of this team has been already established. Right, run the ball, play good defense with Elijah Melendez. Right, obviously all those pieces in there. In the cornerback room, obviously defensive line and Dallas Clark. Right, and obviously you have Jarrett Smith as another player to watch for the Auburn defense. But this offense just has to meet what the defense is going to be able to do this year, and I think they will. Have an identity, having Byron Brown who does not turn over the football like that, smart with the football. I think Auburn could be very sneaky in a very tough SEC. I think this is a team to me that should be ranked and obviously has great potential, in my humble opinion, when it comes to obviously the Auburn Tigers. All right. And then number 23, I think this should be a big year, a big come up, obviously, for Houston. You know what I'm saying? Connor Wigman returns, obviously, for them after doing a little bit of an injury. So he'll be a player to continue to watch for Houston. But in a wide open Big 12, it feels like with some of the moves they made in this roster, I feel like Houston is a team that can really sneak up on you, can have key roles this year. And I think after, you know what I'm saying, losing Dean Connors, who had a big role last year, 977 rushing yards, and all that good stuff. This is still a team that can make some noise and make some big time plays. All right, and then they return their star wide receiver, Amari
Sound
Thomas.
familiar?
He had
At Backers Firm,
600.
we
Sorry,
understand there
y'all.
are many
I don't know
problems.
why that's playing an ad. He had 67 catches, 966 yards, and 12 touchdowns a season ago. So I really feel like this is a guy that people aren't talking about enough. And I feel like for Houston, they could be sneakily dangerous. Now, Virginia Tech is one I know you're going to be like, nah, why are they ranked 22? VT for me is a team with obviously Kamari Copeland, right? You look at a team that has Marcellus Hawkins, right? You look at a team that has Ethan Gronkmeyer as a quarterback, right? They're gonna have obviously Keyshawn Brown on the outside. I just feel like VT, this is the year that they I don't want to say sneak up on people because people are respecting VT a little bit more with them getting James Franklin, but I feel like this is a team that has the core pieces to be dangerous this year, the core pieces to make some noise in the conference that I still feel like is wide open outside of Miami and the ACC. So I feel like VT should be a sneaky team this year. They should be really good, and I feel like they're gonna make some noise. GT, I just think they was ranked 41. You have to really know the program and know the team and know the institution. Really good defensive line, bro. Like they went and really specified on the defensive line, getting guys like Jordan Walker, who they named a permanent captain, right? Obviously Noah Carter on the inside, Tawfiq Thomas, Christian Garrett, Christian Speakman, right? Shamik Jones, right? This team from top to bottom to me is loaded on the defensive line, and they really preface that. And then linebacker room, they have four veterans, man, and Melvin Jordan, Kyle Efford, Kamen Spalding, EJ Lights, and they got two freshmen are pushing those guys up. And obviously, CJ Gamble and Braylon Outlaw. And I feel like this back end has probably the most talent they've had in the Brent Key era. No disrespect. But when you look at Tay Harris, Phoenix Felton, Savion Riley, then you have obviously Jonas DeCono who should help out in the slot position, along with Kelvin Hill, Jalen Mbakwe, Daquan White, right? And you still got Travis Stevenson, Jaden Terry. Like this team feels like they should be able to be better defensively. They should be able to carry the load a little bit. And then when you obviously look at, what I'm saying, this team offensively running the ball, they went and got Justice Haynes for a reason. Run the ball with him, Malachi Hosley, the bad boys. Tight end room is really good. I think you would simplify it, make it really easy. Kevin Roche Jr., Gavin Harris, Chris Corbo, and then hopefully the receivers will be ready to go. It's gonna be a very young wide receiver room. It might be some struggles early on, but you have the tight ends, you have the running backs, which is a key cornerstone identity. And for me, they're ranked because I feel like this is a team that can make some noise early in the season and really wake some people up. So that's why they're in my top 25. I feel like Georgia Tech is going to surprise the people this year. Utah is Utah. I feel like the Utes, after losing their head coach, obviously Kyle Whittingham was now with Michigan. They still have a really good core team. Right, last year got better. They bring back the quarterback Devontae and Pierre for another year. This should be a team that still is very competitive. Obviously, in their conference, it should be to make some noise to me in the Big 12. Oklahoma, I ranked them lower than what people had them at number 10. Brutal schedule. Brutal schedule for them. I know really good defense in Brent Venables, who just got an extension for the Sooners. I want to see how John Mateer looks. So that's my pause for concern. How does he look after that finger injury? Right? Is he the same quarterback? Because before the injury, he was in the Heisman conversation. And then he kind of fell off a cliff a little bit, right? And for Oklahoma, a little bit of a disappointing finish. After being up 17-0 against Alabama, you blow the game, you blow the lead. How do you respond from that? I don't know if I can rank them in the top 10. You know what I'm saying? In my humble opinion, just not knowing what they're gonna have, not knowing how they're gonna look. So that's the team I'm waiting on, pausing a little bit. Now, 18 Tennessee, they've already named their true starting quarterback in Faizon Brandon. Everybody knows that, but they have all the pieces around him to be very good, right? When you look at Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, right, TK Keys, Darius Jackson, Travis Smith Jr. Then at the running back room, Javin Gordon, Deshaun Bishop, right, and obviously Justin Baker. This team to me, with a good offensive line and David Sanders, Wendell Moe, Jesse Perry, all these guys, they have a really good offensive line. This team should be able to make a lot of plays offensively. And I think just for Coach Heupel, just simplify the game plan. Make the game plan easy, make it make sense. And I think for him, if he does that, this team will be just fine. So I think that's the key for this team this year. The only concern for me is defensive line wise. Will it be as good? You lost Chaz Coleman, the whole situation. New defensive coordinator Jim knows. A lot of injuries to the Darius Hurd, to obviously Jaden Harmon, and not Idris Farouk. Defensively, a little bit of concern there if he'll be the same linebacker room. Amari Campbell and obviously Aaron Carter, your best players, but I don't know how good it's going to be. In my humble opinion. 17 Penn State. I didn't rank them as high as some other teams. I do think Penn State would be good with Rocco Beck, obviously their coach Matt Campbell, and pretty much getting a vast majority of the roster from Iowa State. And obviously we know the Big Ten will be very top heavy, but this should be a team with an experienced quarterback, with an experienced coach, should be to obviously make some room this year and make some plays. Now, I ranked SMU higher, I'm saying, than 19. I ranked them at number 16, but because same thing, veteran leadership, veteran quarterback, really good coach. The key for SMU is, can you get stops defensively, right? Can you be better than that? Because you had a lot of games won last year with Kevin Jennings, who was airing the ball out and doing what he was supposed to do, but his defense just simply couldn't get stops, right? So that's a team for me, SMU. Can the defense be better? That's one of their biggest questions. Offensively, they'll be fine. Defensively, can you be better? 15, Texas Tech. I didn't want to rank them too high. 15 is like good, right in the middle. Got to see what happens. They're rooming to get a quarterback. We'll see what happens with that team. They lost a lot of pieces last year, right? They lost, obviously, Rodriguez, what I'm saying, Jacob Rodriguez. They obviously lost Romello Height, right? They obviously lost the quarterback, what I'm saying? And I just want to see, how do they respond? How do they, after the whole Brendan Sorsby situation, obviously they're training for a quarterback now. How would Texas Tech look? I don't know. They're a little bit of a mystery right now, but I rate them because I know the defense will be good again. But can the offense match in the postseason? We'll see. 14, you got to rate Michigan in here, man. 14 is a really good spot for them, in my humble opinion. Jordan Marshall, Savion Hyder, obviously Bryce Underwood, really good, obviously secondary, in my humble opinion, one of the better ones in college football, and obviously really good. We'll see how good this receiving core will be this upcoming year, but really good defensive line as well. But Michigan, with Kyle Whittingham, with the offensive guru, should be a lot better this upcoming season. Then you have Alabama. Alabama's Alabama, right? Named Keelon Russell the starter. Very smart, in my opinion. Obviously, by their head coach, Kalen DeBoer. You don't want to play no games with this. You want to make sure you get the right guy at the helm. Make sure he's doing the right things. Make sure he's helping your team out. And I think the key for them is the running back room. Can this running game get back to where it goes? Because when you have a young quarterback that's a sophomore, he has to have a good complementary run game. You don't want to put too much pressure on him, right? Which is why I didn't rank them in the top 10. I want to see what he's going to be able to do, in my humble opinion, when it comes to that. But defensively, should be good. Dijon Lee, Xavier Brown, what I'm saying? Really good linebackers, man. Luke Metz is coming on from what I've heard. Got Marshall Pritchard at the tight end position. Receivers galore, Sedarian Morgan, Derek Meadows, Latier Brooks, Ryan Coleman Williams. What I'm saying? They just have to be able to run the football. Can this offensive line be more physical? Can they get more push? That's what I think gets them into the top 10. But Bama is a team I'm still watching, and I think they should be very interesting this year. And you have a higher ceiling with Keelan Russell as your quarterback. At 12, you got obviously BYU. I love Brett Bachmeyer. I feel like he's a player that's a stud. Freshman, true freshman last year, played. They were really good last year. I think they had 10 plus wins, probably 11 wins last year. You right there in obviously the Big 12 championship. You lost to Texas Tech. How do you respond to that? You got LJ Martin coming back another year, Darian Alexander as your cornerback. I think this team should still be very good this upcoming season in the Big 12, and should be able to obviously make some noise. So BYU, top 12 for me. Now, this one, I really wanted to rank them in the top 10. I was on edge between LSU and USC, but I think USC is going to have a really good year under Lincoln Riley. I think this defense has gotten better. You got Luke Waffle, who's a true freshman. I think he's going to have an impact. Jaden Mayava comes back another year. You still got Corey Sims right on the outside, and you got a really good running game as well. So the key for USC is defense, right? Some games they was going to shootouts with Notre Dame, going to shootouts with some of these teams, and couldn't get stops. I feel like they have the edge rushers, the defense now to make some noise. And I feel like this should be the year for Lincoln Riley to get this USC football team to a college football playoff. No excuses. LSU, put them in the top 10. I feel like with Lane Kiffin, everything that he brings to the table, obviously quarterback is Sam Levy, that's really good. Harlem, Barry, Caden Durham. And then on the outside, you got obviously Jace Brown. What I'm saying? You got a stud tight end in Trey Green. Just the question will be, the defense, right? LSU was a team that played well offensively last year. Obviously, had some games where they didn't play as good, but can you get more stops? What Weeks is there? We know. Obviously, you got Prince, who came over from the portal. Obviously, you got DJ Pickett, but can his defense match the offense of play this upcoming year? We will find out. Number 9, I wanted to rank Texas A&M. I feel like they're a football team that, I don't know. I feel like Marcel Reed gets slept on a lot. But I feel like, defensively, this is a team. They lost some pieces. Nick Scourton, Cassius Howell. How do they replace that defensive line wise? Who's going to be the next upcoming edge rusher? But the wide receiver room should be really good this year. Aaron Gregory is a true freshman. Everybody's been talking about. Good running game yet again. Texas A&M to me is going to be a top 10 team this year and should be very dangerous. Now, Ole Miss one was hard because you got some that were ranked in top 4, top 5. New obviously head coach. I know Pete Golden was there last year and he finished up as the interim. But for Ole Miss, losing some of the pieces to the portal. So losing some of these pieces to LSU, can this team defensively still be, what I'm saying, that caliber? Can they still be top tier? Right? Offensive, I'm not worried. With Kevon Lacey, you still got Deuce Alexander, you still got Trinidad Chambers, QB1. they have everything they need. Can you be better defensively? But I feel like Ole Miss is going to be able to go toe to toe with anybody with how prolific that offense is, and I think it will be yet again. All right. Then Notre Dame at number 7, you got C.J. Carr in there. How do they replace Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love? Right. C.J. Carr, this is his team now. Right. And we know this team still likes to run the football. Right. We know about how they had last year Malachi Fields and Jordan Faison, all those guys. How does this offense look with C.J. Carr's QB? And obviously last year taking some of the lumps, getting better as the season wore on. Can they go forward? But I think this is a top 10 team with defensively having a top cornerback, having some top pieces. They should be really good this year. And then you got Oregon. Some people had Oregon higher. I did not. I did not like what I saw from Oregon last year. Obviously bring back Dante Moore, which is huge for them. Obviously we'll have a really good running game. We know about DeCorian Moore, who should be a top player probably in college football this upcoming season. But I want to see a little bit more from Oregon before I rank them above Ohio State or Indiana, teams they've struggled with, right? So 5, Ohio State. I didn't rate them number 1. I seen some trepidation a little bit. I seen some cracks in the armor, some chinks in the armor with the quarterback last year. He was very accurate, y'all. But in that big game against Miami, he was rattled, right? So for me, I want to see a little bit more for him, right? And it's not the same team for everybody that asks. Like, this is a different team. That's how I rank it too. Like, no Arville Reese, no Sonny Styles, no Caleb Downs, right? Replacing a lot of your defensive line. How do you kind of come back from that? How do you get better? You know what I'm saying? From that offensively, you still should be pretty good. You got Bo Jackson, you got Jeremiah Smith, you got obviously Chris Henry Jr. coming in, but defensively, will you be the same team caliber of opponent? Defense, I don't know. Can't answer that. For Indiana, they defended national champions. They should be in this conversation. They went in the portal. They got Josh Hoover, who was pretty good at TCU. You went and got Nick Marsh, excuse me, as well to help out this team. And you still got a good running game. You got defensively with Elijah Hardy. Indiana, not saying they're the number 1 team in the country, but this is still a top 5 team in my opinion. With Kirby that he is the coach, everything he brings to the table. And if you're my Miami Hurricanes, I feel like we got disrespected. Like we were 7-8 in some polls. Like how in the hell we a top 3 team in the nation right now? We got Darian Mitchell, who came from Duke, second in passing touchdowns, second in passing yards. He should be a Heisman candidate this year. And then we brought back our entire running back room basically with Mark Fletcher, Gerard Pringle, and those boys, right? And then obviously offensive line will look a little bit different, but defensively we turn a lot of pieces as well. Mohamed Toure, yes, we got to replace Ruben Bain Jr. and obviously Akeem Messidor, but we still got Damon Wilson, we still got Miles Moulton. You know what I'm saying? Defensively, we still got Bryce Fitzgerald, we got OJ Frederick. Like, how are we not a top 2 team in the nation? Made that make sense for me. So that's why my rankings, I put my Hurricanes as number 3. I think we are a top 3 team in the nation, and we have everything we need to go back to the national championship. Then obviously at number 2, Georgia. I think Georgia from top to bottom has everything they need to be dangerous this year. Georgia is a really good football team. I think they should be in national contention again this year. Quarterback wise, and Gunnar Stockton, he's really good. Running back room will be very good, led by Nate Frazier. Right, obviously they got other pieces in there that's going to be able to help out with that as well. Offensive line, I think, has gotten a lot better. And then defensive line, that's the big difference for them. Can they create more pressure and can they be better against the run and stop the big plays? Those are going to be the 2 components for Georgia, but I think they are a top 2 team in the nation. And then at number 1, my final one, Texas. For me, Texas is a football team, no excuses this year. We'll talk about something later on a little bit in the show, but you have Arch Manning, Cam Coleman, right? Ryan Wingo, you got Hollywood Smothers, you got Raleek Brown, you got a really good freshman class coming in here to help you out. Smart Smoke Matthews, Tyler Atkinson, right? We know about Grayson Littleton last year. He's coming back for another year. He'll be a sophomore this year, right? Colin Simmons is in there, right? You got to replace Michael Taft for some of those pieces, but if you Texas, you have everything you need to be good this year. There's no excuses. You read with the offensive line. We know Trevor Gooseby went down with an injury, but this should be a football team that should be the top in the nation right now. And I know people can be like, no, well, we done Texas number 1 last year, and look what happened. This ain't the same football team. They've gotten better than what they were last year. And this is a team I think that's top in the nation. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. And I think you can't really mess with this team or this squad this upcoming year. So that's my top 25. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I think this should be a really good list, and we'll see what happens from week to week as I update it myself and how I rank the teams and different things like that, man. But wanted to bring this, you guys obviously liked it up when I did a poll on it, so I definitely wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. All right, so we'll go next and keeping the show moving. We will go to the On3 college football preseason All-American team. Okay, here we go. All right, so here is basically the list. All right, So they got Faizon Brandon as a quarterback. That makes a lot of sense as a true freshman quarterback. He's one of the few that will start. Jared Curtis is not starting at Vanderbilt. So for Faizon, I think this is a good pick. Savion Hyder should have a key role this year for the Michigan Wolverines, as we talked about earlier with him and Jordan Marshall. Chris Henry Jr., obviously at the wide receiver spot, I think should have a big role. Trent Mosley, obviously for USC, should also have a big time role. Now, Jermaine Bishop for Texas, I don't know. They're loaded at wide receiver. I don't know how big his role is going to be with Texas this upcoming year. So I do feel like there's another receiver you can go. Like you can go even Georgia Tech. They're going to have some young whippersnappers, some young guys in there that can have a key role this year. So while Jermaine Bishop is good, I don't know how much he's gonna see the field. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Offensively, still Mark Bowman with USC makes a lot of sense, right? They want to involve the tight end more. You got Jaden Mayav as your quarterback, makes a lot of sense. Jackson Cantor at the left tackle spot for my Hurricanes makes sense. Cody Green at left guard. Sakai Helton, true freshman, interesting at the offensive line spot as well. We'll see how much he plays this year. There has been some good signs and some good things that have been said about him. Kevin Brown from West Virginia, and then Oliver Miller from obviously Kansas State. Then on defense, I agree with this list. Luke Waffle should have a big year this year for USC, 6'5", 230 plus. Zion Lee is another one that should be a stud from Maryland this year. They just had a big injury, so he should have a more playing time this year. Deuce Gerald's obviously has been a big talk in LSU fall camp. Richard Anderson, and then Xavier Griffin. That's the name I have circled as the edge rusher position. They've struggled with that a little bit over the last little bit with Alabama, with their head coach, with Kellen DeBoer. We'll see what he's able to do. Tyler Atkinson will be very interesting, man. He looked like he built up a lot of muscle, like he's ready to go, man. So we'll see what role he plays. But if they have another striking linebacker to go with Colin Simmons, man, look the hell out. Texas is gonna be a damn problem. Then they got Jay Timmons, Jazavian Currents from obviously South Carolina, and then JJ Dunnigan. He's gonna be one to watch out for from my Miami Hurricanes this year. Matt Sieg and Jerron Jones. Okay, so not a bad list. I give it a B. I give it a B. Not a bad list at all. All right. So let's move to the next topic, man. Highest paid quarterbacks in college football this season. Very interesting, right? Because when you get these, we see this in NFL, right? These things matter because they're paying you top dollar. So you gotta perform, right? You gotta play at a high level. And for Darian Mentor, there is pressure there, right? Obviously, last year it was Carson Beck. They was paying him a good penny. He got them to a national championship. Say what you want, say what you will, but he did everything he was supposed to do, to get them there. For Mentor, this is big because you left a really good situation in Duke to come to obviously Miami, and I think for the Hurricanes, they want to get back to where they were last year. Right now, is it a failure if they don't? No, but he has to play at a high level if you get paid $6 million. That's just my personal opinion. Dante Moore, obviously, he is a senior. He came back for another year of development. But people do want to see Oregon, obviously go further in the college football playoff. They don't want to just see them go first or second round. So we do want to see a little bit more. Trinidad Chambers, I think, well earned at $5 million a year. He kind of showed us last year, going to a semifinal, showing us what he can really do. I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure on him this year with Ole Miss. Sam Leavitt is a big one. I think there's pressure there because there's pressure on Lane Kiffin, and for them to perform and be a good football team this year. I wouldn't say it's natty or bust, but Sam Leavitt's going to have to play at a high level for sure for this LSU football team. Josh Hoover, I think, one of the defending national champions. That's some pressure. 4.5 million. You better perform. You better play at a high level. You know what I'm saying? Not that you got to win another natty, but they invested a lot into you. Coming over from TCU, you don't have to play at a high level. Demond Williams, right? Yo, we paid you all this money. He tried to leave for LSU. We paid you this money. We gave you an increase to come back. Now, what you gonna do with it? You know what I'm saying? That's gonna tell us a lot. And then you got Drew Mestemaker, who came over from North Texas to OSU to follow his head coach. 3.5 million. I do think there is a little pressure on OSU, not to win the Big 12 per se, but to at least be a competitive football team this year. Probably win between 5 or 6 games. I think there is pressure there a little bit. Paying Drew Mestemaker $3.5 million. Got to figure that part out, obviously, of course. All right. So we leave that there and keep it rolling. Now, this is the big news coming out, obviously, from yesterday. Pete Nakos has launched an expert prediction for Texas to land Florida State quarterback Thomas Castellanos. Now, very interesting. I believe he declared, I don't know if he was on an NFL team or anything like that, but obviously he's hit the portals, played for 3 different teams. But for him, I think a golden opportunity, kind of how he had last year at Florida State. And for him, probably his last shot. And the reason I say that is because Texas Tech is a team like, yo, we have the stuff we need. We're just missing a quarterback, and for me, that just shows that Texas Tech doesn't have the belief in their backup, right? They want to get a guy that can make a difference. Now, for a lot of fans, they're like, well, Naj, Thomas Castellanos turns over the ball a lot. He throws a lot of interceptions. He does this, and that. But I will say he's definitely immensely more talented than the other guy, and he's going to be to help you out in the run game, the RPO game, and system. If this is true, and if he does land with obviously Texas Tech, so I think it's very interesting. Texas Tech obviously making the final push to get a top tier or land a good quarterback, and I think for Texas Tech you have to do it right with Big 12 wide open. There's not a lot of big contenders besides maybe BYU this year. Might be a couple surprises. You have to go for the juggler and see if you can win another Big 12 championship and get back to a CFB playoff. And Thomas Castellanos, probably of the quarterback room that you have, gives you that best opportunity, man. So for him, another opportunity to be able to showcase your talent, play on a big stage, and hopefully lead this team to wins and hopefully lead this team to a playoff. And that will probably only rise or raise his draft stock that much even more. All right. So that is obviously the latest there on that. Time to get into the team news now for the show. Auburn, after a rocky offseason, Bryson Washington feels better than ever with his former team looming. And yes, Auburn coaches will soon pick his brain about Baylor's offense. I look at it as just another game. So, big game coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend when they play against Baylor. That's his former school. He's gotten some reps with the twos, the threes, all that good stuff. I think for Bryson Washington, for him, it's just locking in, right? Doing the things you're supposed to do, continuing to develop your craft. And this Auburn team, I feel like, is going to lean on him heavily, lean on him to see what he's going to be able to do this year. And I think, obviously they already have, one or two running backs ahead of him, but he could have a key role this year for Auburn and really help lead the resurgence of his football team and his program to where they want to go, right? And where does this Auburn team want to go? This Auburn team wants to go to obviously new heights. They want to get back to national relevance. They want to get back to winning 9, 10 games a year, be in a big time Iron Bowl, be in the obviously SEC championship. And to do that, they have to run the ball. That's their identity. That's what Alex Golesh has obviously established. And that is obviously what they're going to have to do. So for, Bryson Washington, I think for him, the biggest thing is take advantage of this opportunity. Don't let your emotions get too much in sync for the first game. And hey, bro, you never know. This could be a big game for you in terms of you getting the ball, you getting the rock, and balling out. So tough offseason for him, but obviously now he's in a better situation with Auburn. Now it's just taking advantage of your opportunities and doing the things that you need to do in order to help this football team in this program, in my opinion. All right, on to the next. This is defensive tackle Cody Sigler. Obviously, you know about Dallas Walker, but here's what he says. He says, I just want to dominate every game. I'm not a big talker, but I feel like my game is loud, right? So this is what the transfer 308-pounder basically had to say. And for Auburn, like I said, a new look defensive line, they're going to need guys to be able to kind of, obviously stop up that middle, be good against the rush because you're going to be facing Alabama this year. You're going to be facing Georgia. So you're going to have to be able to slow down that run. Both of those teams' identities is predicated on running the football, right? So for Cody Sigler, great opportunities. Doesn't like to talk, likes to allow his game to do the talking. So for him, big season coming up to see if he can be able to make an impact in a rush game, make an impact on the run defense, and help this team still be very good defensive line wise, right? Came to Auburn for a reason. He's going to have his opportunities. Now, when you have your opportunity, you win the game. Can you make an impact? That's the biggest thing when it comes to Cody Sigler, but obviously doing some great things with the Auburn Tigers. Last thing on Auburn before we obviously move on. I thought it was pretty interesting. They're going to have a full mock game week ahead of Baylor. Alex Goza isn't playing around about it. Every detail, film session, substitutions, and even naps treat it exactly like a real game week. Year one is all about building the routine, and I think for him, like that's the big thing, building the routine, building the culture, right? He talked about 13 days at a hotel, him and his team doing fall camp, right? Here, obviously, going through a full mock game week, establishing identity, the culture, the routine, and this is what it's going to be an Auburn Tiger. This is what it's going to be to play football for my program, and I think that's important. And especially if that culture and what you're trying to establish works, then you have a model you can show the new guys coming in, the transfers coming in, the freshmen coming in. Hey, this is how we play football. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And this is why we are successful. And if he's able to do that, I think this is a football team that's very dangerous and can obviously make a lot of plays this upcoming year, man. So for me, I have my eyes on this full mock game week and how they're going to look week one against Baylor because that's going to tell me, has his team improved? Obviously, it's not going to look the prettiest, but has his team improved? Are they still physical? Can they run the football? And can they make the big plays and to make winners there? That's the big thing when it comes to this Auburn football program and team. All right. So we're going to obviously leave that there and we're going to pull up some things just talking about obviously the Alabama Crimson Tide and what was said obviously about Keelon Russell. All right, because as you guys can see here, he was evaluated by Ryan Grubb, who's obviously their, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator as well. All right, so this is what he had to say. He said, "You win any quarterback job through the process, and certainly Keelon did that. We're excited. I'm excited for him. He's really taking the bull by the horns as a starter and embodied that. Just taking command of the field. Everything that you think like, oh, is a young quarterback going to be able to do that? But we have a ton of confidence in him. He's playing confident. He's operating at an incredibly high level right now. So I'm really excited for him. That's the first thing I pull away. Playing with confidence early, right? And sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what I was talking and then it just kind of came up. Sorry about that. But the key thing I take away from that is the confidence, right? And for him, that's important because you need to have your sophomore quarterback with confidence. Now, the big thing will be like, let's say it's a game he's struggling early on for Alabama. How does he respond to adversity, right? When things are going his way, or if he's thrown two interceptions, he has a fumble. How do you respond to that? But the good thing is he's going into week one with confidence. He knows it's his job. He's earned it, and he's doing the right things in order to kind of lead his team. And the confidence, I think, is important because if your quarterback is confident, that's going to disseminate through the team and to the program of, okay, yeah, we know we can win football games. We know that with this guy, our ceiling is very high, right? We know with this guy, we're going to get it done. I think that's very important to talk about, man. And I think with that confidence, it's oozing through this football team and this program, and they know that the sky, like, there's no limits to this football team and what they can obviously figure out. Here's more of what Ryan Grubb had to say. So one time we were down in the red zone, we got zeroed out look, and you need to check to get two for protection and make a big throw in the red zone third down. The clock's ticking. Grubb recalled. You're going under 10 seconds, and the defense gets into a tough look in a pressure moment. Just having the ability to get to your training, fall back on your training, and let it happen. I believe it was the second scrimmage he did that was really, really good. So that's important, right? That's telling me already early he's able to identify zero looks. He's able to identify what the defense is doing, and he can check to the right protection and read and play and be able to throw a money down throw and be able to get this team into the right position. So that's important because you're going to face it all the time. We face Auburn, we face some of these good programs this year, like Tennessee's and things like that. They're going to be throwing zero looks your way. Can you adjust and know what side the pressure's coming from, what side the blitz is coming from? And if you can do that, then that makes your team even better because you know you got a quarterback that ain't going to freeze up in those big, intense, high leverage moments, right? He's going to make the plays necessary for his team to win football games and win at a very high level. I think that's very important. It's not being talked about enough. And if he continues to do that at a high level, this Alabama team should be very good and should be able to make some big time plays this year and should be able to obviously get to where they want to go, which is deeper in the CFP playoffs and obviously continuing to have killing the board stock rise, what I'm saying, as a program and as a team. All right. So we will leave that there. Now we will go on to obviously the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And what's going on with Georgia Bulldogs? Well, they had camp. Obviously, some big things this week was obviously Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb ended up retiring. So that was big. The legend, what I'm saying, for Georgia, played 2 years there. Obviously had a big impact, what I'm saying. Very good player, very good program. So that was obviously the big news, him retiring at 30, but having a really successful NFL career with the Browns, played a little bit with the Texans last year, but obviously hanging up the cleats, man. So that was something real quick that I wanted to note this week for Nick Chubb and obviously Georgia. All right, but now I want to go to the big thing, which is Gunner Stockton. This is what Kirby Smart had to say. He said Gunner's been fine. He's been good. He had some plays that he wished he had back from the last scrimmage, but he had some good plays in the first one. Stockton had some bad ones in the first one. He had some good plays in the second one, some bad ones in the second one. He's having a good camp. He's in a much better place this year than he was last year, in my opinion, just from his experience. So I think Gunner is probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the SEC or even in college football. I don't think he gets the love that he deserves. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's shown you last year that he can win you football games. We look at the Tennessee game where they went toe to toe and the defense couldn't get stops. He made the throws, threw for the yards, did what he was supposed to do. When they played against Ole Miss, right, ended up winning that first time. He was making some crazy level throws, man, to lead them, right, in the eventually defeat Trey that Chambers and Ole Miss. So for him, the key thing is, yeah, he has some bad throws, he has some good ones, but just minimizing the bad throws, minimizing, what I'm saying, the bad things that you do, and allowing that to continue to kind of, go lower and lower, and then continue to learn from that, where you can continue to elevate your game. But the key for him is you have a whole year of experience now, right? So you're going to be better. You're going to know what works, what doesn't work, and you're going to know how to, what I'm saying, improve yourself, and you're gonna know how to. Okay, if I see this coverage, I know where to go to. Right. If I see this, I know what my team needs, and that's important for Georgia because I feel like this is one of the better quarterbacks they've had really since Matthew Stafford. You know what I'm saying? You guys can probably name a couple others, if you want. But the reason I say it is because I feel like it's a quarterback last year with no running game, really for real. Defense that was struggling, that was not a Georgia like defense. And look at what he did. He still led them boys to a quarterfinal appearance. I think that says a lot about, obviously, what I'm saying, um, Gunnar Stockton and the level of player that he is. He needs to get more love than what he does. I don't know why it's like that, but this is a guy with Gunnar. You can win at a high level. You can do good things. And for Georgia fans, you should be obviously very excited. Last thing I want to mention, he mentioned a little bit, obviously, about some receivers. Tyler Williams and Thomas Blackshear said they both have flash and they make plays to contribute on special teams. Both have ability. Obviously, they wouldn't be there if they didn't. And they both had big time moments during it as well. So I think for them, the key is, okay, they're trying to emerge at wide receiver, right? You got Caden Prothro, who's a big guy coming in as a freshman. You got obviously Taylor in there, right? For Tyler Williams and Blackshear, they're trying to find roles. That's just what it is. With Savion, or not Savion, I'm sorry, Jacoby White Helton, like they're trying to find roles for receivers. So for Blackshear, you got to continue to contribute in any way that you can. Special teams, making plays, making blocks, making tackles, and then when you out there on the field, but take advantage of your plays because you got Ethan Barber coming back. You still got Lawson Lucky. Like there's only so much food that can go around, right? So when the opportunity is there for Thomas Blackshear and for Tyler Williams, you have to take full advantage. So it's good that they're making plays. It's good they're standing out to Coach Kirby Smart, but now they got to be able to elevate and take their game to another level, man. Because if not, they're gonna get buried in the depth chart. You know what I'm saying? So they're obviously there for a reason, but now can you be a major playmaker? Can you be a guy that steps up? And there's freshmen in there too, man. You got Craig Dandridge, you got Landon Rodon, like you got guys that are hungry and that are trying to find a role. So for a second year receiver, your time is now. You got to be able to carve out some kind of role on this team this year, man. Especially if you want to continue to be on the Georgia football program. All right. There it is. We will leave that there and continue to move. We're going to talk about Tennessee here for just a quick second. I thought it was very interesting what Tyler Redmond had to basically say today. All right, let's go ahead and reload.
Like the staff that was built around knows, we got Coach Torba, Coach Thomas, Coach Jones. We have a whole bunch of coaches in there every day trying to make us, understand what Knowles is trying to do in his defense. So, I'll give a big credit to them guys trying to always implement, the defense within us.
What do you think of Faizon being named starting quarterback?
I feel like it's great, it really like on defense, it really didn't matter who the quarterback was. We just had to, help, you know, um, both of them out. They've been having a great camp, but Faison, he's been real good, real mature for his age. Um, yeah, he's been getting a real good look on defense. He does a real good job of like baiting according with his eyes. So you think he'll make a play and then he just put the ball right behind you. So he shows us a good look on defense, and we, show a good look for him on offense. So we just try to get better for the season.
It's like going against Mike. How better are you guys getting each other every day?
It's great, great competition every day. Maybe he'll catch one on me and I'll, get one on him. And we're just trying to make each other better. He's a real good competitor. He's gonna bring it every time. So it's been real good going against Mike. I feel like it's time for me to take that next.
There it is. So the key things he was saying there, feel like it's time for him to take the next step. Tyler Redmond had a really good year last year, y'all. True freshman, came in there from Milton High School and really performed at a high level. Now he's gonna be the starter now. Obviously, you lost Boo Carter. Obviously, you lost Colton Hood, who's now in the NFL, and Tyler's your guy. So really good for him being ready for his moment, and now he's the guy as just a young sophomore. But I love what he pieced away and when he talked about with Faizon Brandon, the competition going neck and neck. Talked about both quarterbacks, George McIntyre and all that good stuff, going against Mike Matthews a little bit, and good on good, getting better from it. And then just Faizon being that ultimate competitor, man. And I think you can see the confidence ooze a little bit, right? And what he's saying, and obviously about what Faizon's gonna be ready to do. And I think for the team is good, right? He's a young guy, but you ride with it all the way through, right? And it's the reason why Faizon won that job. You know what I'm saying? So, I think for Tennessee, they have everything they need to be successful this year. You got the quarterback. Go ahead and have that established. Yes, he is the fourth quarterback in SEC history to start as a true freshman. But if you coach Hypo, you've done this 5 years, 5 new quarterbacks, and they've all been ultra successful. They all have been doing great things. There hasn't been a lot of continuity, unfortunately, but we've seen Coach Hypo do this and do this at a very high level, and this team will still be able to play and perform at a very high level. So I think the key for Tennessee is defense has to be good. We know about Ty Redmond. The secondary, I think, is going to be very special. But now, can the offense continue to match that too? We know last year the offense was good. Defense struggled a little bit. But can the defense be able to get more pressure and create stops? But I think with Ty Redmond leading you at the cornerback spot, man, you should be really good and should be able to obviously make some noise, man. But I thought it was very interesting what he had to say, you know, just about Faizon Brandon and him obviously being a competitor and the things that he brings to obviously the table. And then we talked about earlier, just Faison basically being, what I'm saying, a freshman All-American. I think he's the best person you can put there as a true freshman. I don't think there's a whole bunch that are starting. Probably like mid-season or like first couple of games they'll continue to start. But I think for Faison, like, don't feel pressure. Like, this is a football team that wants to win games, but you're a freshman. It takes time, right? You're not going to just have all the belts and whistles ready to go and ready to perform at a high level. Like, take your time, get better as the season wears on. Lean on your running game, lean on your tight ends and Ethan Davis, and you got receivers. Just get them the ball. But this kid is uberly talented, so I think you can see the confidence in Ty Redmond. I think he deserves to be a freshman All-American preseason, and we're gonna see what he's gonna be able to do this year. I cannot wait. It should be a fun year to watch Tennessee. I'm gonna be covering them all year on my channel, so y'all always stay tuned for that. And I'm gonna be talking about every game, instant reaction, and all that good stuff, man. Should be a very good football team and program. Can't wait to see what they're gonna be able to do this upcoming season. All right, now we're gonna go on to Texas, and Texas is very interesting. And I didn't think we would see this from Coach Steve Sarkisian, so it does give me a little bit of concern. And he basically said lethargic is the best word. He doubled down. He said, I thought offensively it was just too sloppy for my liking. We should be better, more efficient from an offensive perspective. This was said after the latest scrimmage that they had from this past weekend, right? So that is a little bit concerning when you hear that from Coach, obviously, Sark, because it's like, okay, well, this offense, you guys invested so much in it, right? You got the pieces you need, the offensive line, you reinvested, revamped that, right? You obviously did make some changes, I'm saying, at the wide receiver room, right? You brought in Cam Coleman, you brought in, obviously, you still brought back and retended, basically, Ryan Wingo, you brought in Hollywood Smothers, you brought in Willie Brown. Like, lethargic is not really the word you want to hear if you're a Texas fan. Like, that gives you some concern because it's like, okay, well, this is supposed to be solved, right? So maybe it's a way he can reinforce this, right? Obviously, with the second game of the season being against Ohio State, maybe this is a way he can just say, hey, look, we can't get complacent, y'all. Like, we got to look better. We can't just be going through the motions. We can't be just doing that. But lethargic is a little bit of a concern because, like, this offense is supposed to take a big step forward this year. Have everything they need for Arch. Arch has another year of experience. Offensive lines revamped and retooled. New playmakers at the wide receiver and running back spots. And obviously some different changes at the tight end room as well. So a little bit concerning, what I'm saying, for Texas fans, and definitely something that has to get figured out moving forward. You don't want to hear that your offense is lethargic. It definitely needs to be better, and obviously is a very big time concern, man. So hopefully they figure that out. Obviously, hopefully that was just one bad day, but definitely got to do better, obviously, when it comes down to that. All right, now we're going to talk about some couple players that they highlighted on Inside Texas, players that need to look at a pair of pairs to see the right way to play in the preseason practices. Grayson Littleton and Emmett Mosley. They're playing at an extremely high level, not a good level, talking extremely high level. So we know about Grayson Littleton last year as a true freshman, played at a very high level, and obviously what Emmett Mosley was able to do at the wide receiver spot. So I think for Texas, you got some true freshman wide receivers coming in there. You got some young cornerbacks coming in there, like some Mark Smoke Matthews. And I think basically this is saying, like, hey, they're the exemplary pieces that you guys need to follow. They do things the right way. They have the right habits. They have the right practice habits. They ask the right questions. They're in tuned in meetings. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing this. They're doing that. And I think this is basically saying these are the guys that you need to pay attention to when you're trying to ask me questions, or when you're trying to take your game to another level, or you're trying to be, a guy for us. Look at what they do. Look at how they carry themselves. Look at their approach to the game. And I think for Texas is good because so much young talent's coming in there. You need some people to embody that. And I think with a new wide receiver room looking, new cornerback room, these are the guys that you want to look at and you're like, okay, yes, this is what it should look like. This is how it should be. And I think these guys are going to be pillars, what I'm saying, for this new look team and everything that they obviously want to do. So very interesting to say the least. And I think it should be a group that plays at a very high level. And I can't wait to see what these two do this year. in their upcoming seasons and if they continue to lead this team. All right. Now let's go to Arch Manning. Now this one is a little different. Said the offense was lethargic, but was very complimentary of obviously Arch Manning. Now this was on August 24th, so a few days ago. At the time of obviously this show, says, well, he's had a great camp. I'm really pumped about it. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to play very well. We got 2 more weeks to continue to sharpen up. I'm very excited for where he's at and what type of camp he's had. So that's what I say. You got to take it with a grain of salt. Offense was lethargic, but your quarterback, which is a key piece, right, is playing at a high level and had a great camp. That's everything that you want to hear. No injuries, nothing major, catastrophic happened. He had a pretty good camp. That makes you feel good if you are the head coach for the Texas Longhorns because some of the struggles was offensive line last year. Some of the struggles was getting the ball to the playmaker. Some of the struggles was Arch was not seeing the field well, right? So now things are slowed down for him. He doesn't care about what media attention. He doesn't care about what people are saying about him. He just wants to play football. And for him, you need him to have confidence going into week 1. You need him to have confidence going into this season because he's going to be a major pillar because now all the expectations are on you. The expectation is to get to a national championship. The expectation is to get deep into the playoffs. The expectation is to win the SEC championship. All the expectations is in your corner and what your team is supposed to do this year. And Arch is at the centerpiece of that. If he doesn't have a good season, then it's all for naught. So it's good to hear that he's had a good camp. It's good to hear that he's playing well. Now got to carry that momentum into the season. And when you play some of these teams like Ohio State week 2, we're going to find out because it's a new look Ohio State team. If he has the same struggles, then that's not good. But if he's coming out, he's slinging for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, doing his thing, then that's completely different. I'm saying that's completely different. And that only helps his football team and his program of what they want to do and how they obviously want to do it. So good news out of Arch Manning camp and obviously Steve Sarkisian, obviously about his quarterback. Now, not too much about Miami news. I thought this was an interesting article to share, but former Hurricanes wide receiver Cam Vaughn has filed a lawsuit, obviously, against the team. I thought this was very interesting. Out of University and NCAA in Dade County, requesting the judge to allow him to enter the transfer portal. Obviously, from West Virginia, had 35 catches and 541 yards when it came down to it. Says the dispute now centers on a wideout's ability to continue his college career. Representatives contend Miami declined to submit the NCAA waiver needed for him to access the portal following his removal from the program. Vaughn's side continues to make those assertions as part of the legal dispute. Vaughn joined Miami football team in January after recording, like I said, 35 catches, 541 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And obviously, 803 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns during his season at Jacksonville State. But basically, what happened here, he ended up getting arrested. You know what I'm saying, and pretty much was kicked off the football team, and now he is looking to pursue legal action. You know what I'm saying, and obviously find a way to get on the football program, which will be very tough. Would it be obviously August 26th, season right around the corner? You know what I'm saying? That would be very tough for him to obviously find a football program and team, but obviously now he's trying to look for his out and find obviously another way. But we'll see what happens with this lawsuit, and we'll see obviously if he's able to find his way on the football team this year. It might be next year with how the legal process plays out, but it'd be a very interesting thing to follow this upcoming season, obviously, for Cam Vaughn. We'll leave that there. Keep it short with Miami today, not too much going on. Last but not least, man, I do want to talk a little bit about the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, man, and obviously the football program and obviously the team. Hold on one second, y'all. Share tap. Now, one position I think Georgia Tech fans should feel really good about this year as season approaches is the linebacker room. And the reason I feel that way is because you got 4 veterans we mentioned: Melvin Jordan, EJ Lightsey, Kamen Spalding, Kyle Efford, right? Those 4 guys have gotten better. This defensive line's gotten better. And he's mentioned the assistant coach, Jack Tyler, and everything he's talked about with him just being very exemplary in helping these guys take another step forward. I also mentioned Boogie, who was Jason Seymour, the defensive coordinator for this team, and I'm just playing at a very high level. I think that's very important when we break things down for Georgia Tech because this linebacker room last year struggled. Did they have some good games? Yes. Georgia, I thought they played one of their best games, but it was never consistent. There was a lot of missed tackles, things getting to the second level, right? So this is a big year for these guys because, you know, a lot of these guys are seniors. They don't have any availability coming back, and you want to put your best foot forward on tape. So when you have these 4 guys in there, and Kamen Spalding has been raved about as well, you know, them taking a step forward, them getting better, I think this is only going to help the Georgia Tech football program. And this is what basically was said. He said, yeah, Boogie has done a great job with those guys. Jack Tyler's another guy I'm really high on as a young coach. I brought up Nate. Jack is another guy who's really, really good coach. He's coached the position in the ACC. He's coordinated, running this whole side, obviously, of the ball, right? And then he said, EJ Lightsey can play both spots. Kyle can play both spots. Kamen Spalding has been the best version of himself. for 3.5 weeks now. He's an absolute best version of himself. For him to go let go some of the emotional things that he had in the past that kept him from being a contributor as much as he could have, it's allowed him to now really pick up the defense. I laughed the other day. I said, that's another one that Boogie got to, right? Ace has been big in that one. He plays so fast now. He's communicating and just doing a lot of great, really good things on the field. But to be unselfish and to let go of some of those things that has been made us a better football team. It's made us a lot better football team. Melvin Jordan's coming back again. Is really giving us a great communicator. He gets everybody lined up. So for me, what I take away from that is, okay, Cayman Spalding as a player, right? He's athletic. He's playing at a high level, but he's let go some of the emotional things that was maybe like slowing down his game a little bit, right? And now he's locked into the scheme and system and everything. And he gives them probably one of the most athletic linebackers they have outside of Braylon Outlaw, right? You know what I'm saying? Those two guys probably go neck and neck in terms of athleticism because Cayman Spalding can blitz. Cayman Spalding can call plays. Cayman Spalding can go and cover tight ends, running backs, and be very effective in doing so. We've seen it in the spring, right? But then you got guys like EJ Lightsey and obviously Kyle Efford who both can play either spots, right? Like Kyle can play will linebacker or Mike. So can EJ, right? So that gives you guys that you can switch and move over in different scenarios that you feel more comfortable with. And it feels like this is going to be the key part of this group. While everybody's talking about the defensive line and how much better it's gotten and how important that position is, it feels like now linebacker is going to be the key piece because if they're good, as we think they can be, if they're good as what they've been showing the coaches, then this team as a defense is going to take a step forward, right? Obviously, you got to eliminate the big plays, busted coverages, all that stuff. But if the defensive line steady in the backfield, but then the linebackers can come this on cleanup duty and make those tackles and make those big hits and make those TFLs, this could be a really good season for this defense. And I think linebacker is a position that people should be more confident about, especially with just the 4 veterans. He also had this to say about obviously the young whippersnappers and the young thoroughbreds, right? Says then I can't get enough about the 2 freshmen. Can't say enough about those 2 guys, CJ and Braylon. 34 and 35. When they're out on the field, it's fun to watch. Now they're going to make mistakes, right? I told the staff yesterday they'll make a lot fewer mistakes in Game 6 because they played the first 5. That's the only way to get them to continue to develop. We're committed to that. I'm committed to that. We're going to need those guys, whether they get their feet wet early on special teams, they're ready to play. Outlaw, every time I look up, he was showing up really for the last week and a half on the field. I mentioned that in the springtime, and then he got sick and had to miss a little time. Just a tremendous athlete. CJ had a high level of football IQ, knowing where to be, how to fit plays, how to communicate. That goes back to CJ, obviously knowing Joey King for so many years. His high school coach, who also coached Kelvin, said Key, while everyone is talking about the defensive line, and rightfully so, the linebacking core should be a major player in how much better the defense looks in the fall. If that is the case, Georgia Tech should have a big time year. There it is, right? So he talked ravingly about those 2 guys. So to me, it feels like young thoroughbreds coming in there, pushing these linebackers, these veterans, you know what I'm saying, and them giving them the toolage and knowledge of what they need to do in order to be good this year, tells me everything I need to know. This team ain't messing around. The linebacker room is going to be a much better, much more, I don't want to say aligned, but much more in sync and being able to make the plays they need in order to win football games and win at a very high level. So to me, those are the remnants. Those are the key things that are obviously coming out of this camp. And I think those should be guys you should obviously watch out for this upcoming year. The linebacker room is a room that people aren't talking about enough with Georgia Tech, but should be having a major, major impact in 2026. Okay. So that's obviously massive. And last thing I want to talk about too is the offensive line, right? Them taking a major step forward this year, right? Now, while some people have been talking about the offensive line, well, there's a lot of competition. You got obviously both guard spots with Kevin P. Jordan Floyd's been in there a little bit. You obviously got Malachi Carney and Markel Samuel. James Harrison, new right tackle. Like, why should I be confident? And I think it's right here. I think they've really established themselves from a maturity standpoint, from a play standpoint, from a confidence standpoint. They have a lot of confidence about them. The first 2 weeks, when you combine that installation, the multiples of what they were seeing across from them, and then the ability of the defensive line, it was a tough first couple of weeks, right? Basically said it right there. Like, they struggled the first couple of weeks of fall camp, right? But the maturity, them getting better, right? Them getting more confident, right? Going against that stout defensive line, which will be very good this year, is going to make them better. He said, I told Mo the other day that he got coach of the year for the week. Think about that one. Just how they really, from the first scrimmage until now, the O-line has really come together, right? It's important. They come together, right? It's no secret. I'm going to play guys on multiple positions to be able to develop the most continuity if somebody goes down. That's another key piece of it too, right? Like, he's not just looking at, oh, okay, let's get Jordan Floyd ready for left tackle. Now, let's also develop him at left guard. Let's also develop, Jameson Riggs at this spot as well. Like, I'm going to cross-train my guys because I want them, if something happens, they can step in and they can play at a very high level. All of that is very important in my humble opinion because you never know what can happen. Like, go look at Keelan Rutledge, first round draft pick, played right guard majority of his career. He's going to be starting for the Houston Texans as a first round draft pick at center, right? So I think Coach Key sees that and he's like, okay, let me make sure all my guys are cross trained in position and they know how to play all the positions. So then when it's time and they have to switch, right, or they might have to come in for the spot, they can come in and play at a very high level. That is very important in my humble opinion. I think that's going to only help this football team, obviously moving forward. Since I don't believe in playing the backup at a certain position because that guy goes down, I want the 6th best offensive lineman to go in, right? Then the 7th best after that, right? So he's not just looking for, okay, yeah, I need to have the backup go in. No, who is my next best offensive lineman? Is it Jordan Floyd, right? Is it Cortland or Courtney Hurd, right? Is it Xavier Canales, right? When he's healthy, is it Josh Petty? Like, I want my next best offensive lineman to go in and play any of the spots that we need. It's very important, right? Because you're getting your next best player on the field, not just at the position, but your next best offensive lineman. So that cross training piece is very, very important for the Georgia Tech football program and for this team. And I think that's something that has to definitely be talked about a lot more. And it's very interesting to say the least. All right. And then here's the last part I want to mention. We've been working all those guys, finding the right spots for people, right backup spots for people, and finding those guys we're going to play with. I've been really happy with the offensive line. You're seeing those accumulated double teams, body blows, and just to work with each other really starting to add up now. The production of the offense is obviously going along with it, said key. So that's a key piece there, right? Offensive line's gotten better. They took their lumps early on in camp. Defensive line was doing their thing against them. They gotten better from a confidence and maturity standpoint, right? And I think the key piece now is finding the best guys for the right spots. But cross-training everybody so then my next best offensive lineman, if an injury happens or if somebody's struggling or if somebody's not playing well, they can go in, they can be plugged and played, and they can play at a very obviously high level. I think that's very important and massive moving forward. And I think for Georgia Tech, that makes you feel good about offensive line, right? With so many, different battles and position battles and different things in camp, you got to be able to know what it's going to be and who's going to play at certain positions and things like that. And I think for Georgia Tech, they're finally figuring that part out. And with Coach Key, we know how important offensive line is, right? Talked about tight ends. We talked about obviously running backs being very important for this identity, but it's also offensive line. If the offensive line is not humming or playing at a high level, that affects everything this team wants to do and how successful they're going to be in 2026 and beyond, right? So those are the two things I definitely wanted to mention there. But that's going to do it for today's show, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hype up this video, man. Join and become a member today. And please engage with me on social media at NAJEH. Look on all platforms. I'll see you guys in, obviously, the next video. Much love and respect. And I'll see you guys soon. And remember, as always, peace and blessings.